Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory, prices, and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I swear there was supposed to be a Card Hoarder link right there, an image that I keep losing. But we do appreciate our sponsor, Card Hoarder, as well. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Hi.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fixing that in post. That's what I get to do.
Great. I'm sure they're going to love that.
That's going to be great. But that's awesome. So that said, we also get started with a trumpet blast, but you can get one if you support us at our highest level on Patreon, patreon.com/magicmics. Don't have one this week, but if you got a message you want to get out, we're here to help. With that, we kick it off with the first pick and the giveaway. Exclamation mark raffle will get you into the $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. Again, thanks CSI for sponsoring that. We're going to give that away at midnight Eastern Time. So get yourself in on that. Subscribers get 2 entries.
Has the raffle started yet? Doesn't look like it started.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
It looks like they were only able to do it for a limited time, so it looks like they're no longer able to do it.
What? Resume. Oh, I screwed something up.
There we go. All right, now you
no
can
card order logo. The raffle is busted. We are just giving you.
What is happening here? Okay,
I
think we got
now
it.
You're good.
We did it. We did it. Somehow, I probably set it up wrong. I don't know.
That's
Either
fine.
way, it's running fine.
We're here now.
Whatever. Okay, first pick this week. A guy by the name of A.D. Jameson, or person, not sure. An author named A.D. Jameson posted up a open letter to Cedric Phillips, Gerry Thompson, and the pro Magic community. And essentially, what it ended up being was kind of taking the last 10 years of Magic and comparing it to the 10 years before that. Essentially, the period of time in which pros got a ton of perks and a ton of money spent on them, and they're in the packs for God's sake, to what we have now, which is very much almost anti-pro. Pros can go do whatever. We're going to keep moving away those benefits and those perks that they get over and over again. And it was truly fascinating to see the way that he kind of explained, in particular, who took over Hasbro, someone who worked for the Saban company, the people who make Power Rangers.
I think it's Saban.
Is it Saban? Sorry.
Yeah, Saban.
Oh, because it's French, I think. So
Sure.
Anyway, so the Saban company, Power Ranger people, that's all you need to know. And so when he came to Hasbro, when that guy's apprentice came to Hasbro as CEO and then started talking to Wizards, and it's interesting because I know part of this story that he's not including here, which is I think it was like a marketing firm or something. Someone asked Wizards, in the sort of the professional brand building sense, who's your Mickey Mouse? And they're like, and they couldn't tell them, and they kept telling, well, the stories are different because the worlds are different, and they're like, yeah, no, you can cut that out. You got to make some characters that we care about, and you got to make those people important and have a story that carries along, bit to bit to bit. At this point, Hasbro and Wizards talk about the story. The story is everything, and make sure you have the stories engaging and have the heroes and the villains and whatever. And so now we have Jace, and when I say Jace, you know who that is. You know the cards that he's on. He has spells named after him. He has multiple products named after him, for God's sake. We have these characters who are at this point larger than life because they have worked to do that. Whereas he then sort of contrasts with, trying to watch tournament coverage is almost impossible. If you're not super invested, it's almost impossible. So, yes, you'll get big numbers on the big streams that Twitch helps you promote, and obviously you're giving away a whole bunch of money, and so those who care are definitely going to care. But the majority of people who spend money on Magic don't give a crap.
Yeah.
It was just a fascinating look at sort of how Wizards changed in terms of treating pros one way, and to, honestly, we're lucky we have the Pro Tour at this point.
Absolutely.
Because in the eyes of Hasbro, we probably should be cutting all that off years ago.
Yeah, the open letter was very good. I agreed with a lot of what he was saying. The timeline that he presented, I agreed with the way that he sold everything and the way that he, kind of portrayed Wizards. He inadvertently, though, I think, kind of pulled back the curtain a little bit on how the left hand still doesn't really know what the right hand is doing. So on the one hand, he brings up the story, and he says that when the era of the pro ended, it became more the era of the planeswalker, where people nowadays relate more to characters like planeswalkers than they do pro players. But on the one hand, that's true that they've been investing more in story and they're seeing dividends because of it. But then you go and sack Kelly Diggs, who was a major player of the story and a major force behind the story. Your release dates with the stories are really loosey-goosey. We never really know when the next one's coming out. The stories, depending on who you ask, haven't been as good, if we're being completely honest. And so then you also have the issue of the MagicFest. You know, the writer goes on to say that they are trying to make GPs more for everybody, where you don't necessarily have to go and just do the main event. But then you have this artist boycott where, well, what artists are these casuals supposed to go see? Well, they're not coming, so there goes that. And then anybody who has ever tried to go to a GP and isn't playing in the main, good luck finding a place to sit. Unless you're playing in a side event, there is no seating. There's still no like designated seating for non-GP folks, for non-side event folks. If you just want to go and play Commander with your friends, you know, you really just kind of have to hunker down and pray for daylight that another judge isn't going to come and say, we need this table for something. So he's bringing up really good points of what Wizards sort of, what their, the fantasy versus reality. Wizards wants to focus on the story, but then they're making these misfires. They want to make GPs more available, but then, you know, there's these errors that happen. And so that's something that he didn't really focus on, and I don't think was his intention. But as I'm reading the article, I'm like, yeah, that's what they're going for, but the reality is quite different.
I mean, I appreciate the fact that he pointed out, for example, essentially the Invisibles as they existed up until around 2008, this being, you know, essentially the 95 or whatever % that are playing that, you know, are not playing competitively. We kind of flipped that around. At this point, we have tons of casual products. We don't, they're renaming the Grand Prix to MagicFest just because they don't want it to sound intimidating. Like, you know, Grand Prix, a giant event, you know, like, no, just come on here, play some Magic, interact with the brand, with Arch Enemy and Conspiracy and Commander decks, Unstable, you know, full art promos, stuff like that. It's not necessarily about winning games of Magic, it's about playing Magic, which, again, from the idea of less on the pros, more on let's just play Magic, let's have a simpler Magic. Magic 2010, remember, is like the sort of the reboot of what a core set's supposed to be and how a core set's supposed to feel, and it's very classic fantasy thematic stuff that doesn't mire itself down with a ton of characters except the ones they want you to focus on, and those being the Planeswalkers. You know, you go to the Magic homepage and where's the world champion? You know, where's the winner of so-and-so event? Where's the winner of almost any event? You know, the coverage leaves the homepage almost as fast as you could, you know, make it. It's like, okay, it's Tuesday, get out of here. You know, so it's tough to say that, you know, how much are we investing in these pros versus this story, these elements, these Planeswalkers, and this is paying off for Hasbro. This is paying off for Wizards. They're getting the new players. They're getting more people engaged. They're getting more people involved. Your casual streamers, and Jeff Hoagland, I think it was even today, said something like, you know, he couldn't break 500 subscribers when he was trying to be Mr. Competitive, I want to win PTQs, whatever. And then he started getting kind of silly and goofy, and he's at like 2,400. Because
look at Saffron Olive, who I can count on one hand the number of events he's physically attended. But he has, you know, he's had a meteoric rise in the community because people love the janky decks, people love the crazy brews. You know, he actively kind of lovingly steers away from, like, you know, top tier decks and things of that nature, but that's what people want to see. They want to see the budget brews. They want to see the janky combos. And you look at people like Magic the Amateuring, who are now Good Luck High Five and who are right up there with limited resources in terms of numbers and popularity and longevity. We talked about Abe Sargent in the pre-show, somebody who's had an amazing career as a Magic writer, to, you know, has been on so many websites and has outlasted how many pros? Like, when you look at all the faces that have come and gone from these websites, and he's still making content, that's no accident.
Yeah, I mean, over the last 10 years, pro players traded places with the Invisibles. You know, on the Magic subreddit, the topmost posts aren't like who's playing on the events and how so-and-so is doing. It's, you know, check out, there's a weird art thing, or how the oversized commander cards go in the Mucinex box or whatever, and everyone loses their mind over silly stuff like that. Because
the fans, even, you know, most of the time when we meet people at events, you know, I will usually, you know, strike up a conversation and say, you know, are you playing in the main? What are you playing today? And the majority of people that I meet when I'm on the road have either never been to a GP before, like it's their first GP, or they're simply not playing in the main event, like that. And that's saying something that our audience, we assume because we're going to GPs, we're going to Eternal Weekend, that everybody is, but we really are the minority.
Right. And I think if you look at this and you say, You know, Wizards likes to hire people not only who like love and live and breathe Magic because they love and live and breathe Magic, they also like to hire people who have no idea what Magic is and do not care.
Oh yeah. I remember when I was doing the Community Cup and we had to do we did a flavor challenge where they had assigned us sort of these cards that we had to build flavorful decks around, and we were sort of discouraged from making them like too good or whatever. And I remember just watching the Wizards team kind of pull their decks together, and then one of us would make a comment of like, oh, that's in a tier 1 deck. And they're like, really? This card? Okay. Like they just don't know. Like they're so secluded and it's wild.
Yeah, but you know, again, if you're looking at this and you're saying like, okay, you know, you're looking at Wizards as just like a company that's here to make money, that makes a product that could be an entertainment brand, you know, stop investing in these real people, invest in these, you know, characters that you create, you control, you don't have to pay, you don't have to, you know, have some sort of program that they're in. No, you just use these characters willy-nilly as much as you want. You paint them into cards as much as you want. There's no more real people being painted into cards. When they reprint the Invitational winners, those winners aren't still there. You know, at this point, it's a Dark Confidant character, aka Skrillex. But, you know, it's crazy to hear the contrast between, you know, change worth fighting for, what Gerry T is looking for, what Cedric is saying is possible, versus what Wizards is saying, which is like, look, the less we focused on you, the better our company has gotten.
I think that there's still room for both. I mean, this blog post was really well written, brought up a lot of important talking points that I think that we can disseminate for a very long time. Yeah. But I definitely think that there is room for both. You don't need to have just one focus. I mean, we talk about the Mickey Mouse of Magic, but what's the last time a new Mickey Mouse product was released by Disney, right? Like, you don't have to only have one focus. You can do both things and do both things well. And I think that there's been a period of time where they've done both things well. It hasn't been particularly recently, but I think it's possible. Another thing that comes to mind is that different parts of Magic are helped and I guess hampered, but mostly helped by different focuses. The casual fan, the Invisibles, as were referenced, really help with those casual formats, things like Commander. Whereas the competitive articles and the top tier strategy kind of folks still have a massive impact on Standard and still have a big impact on the types of things that people want to go out and buy. So again, you can still focus on both without, you know, having to choose. And the last thing I would say is that there is a unique facet of Magic in that the competitive scene and the company that makes the game are one and the same with Magic, which isn't the case for Hearthstone or for the Versus system back in the day, or for any of the other big online esport card games. You know, and I think that separating those two things definitely makes a lot of sense, and having it fall more to the Channel Fireballs and the Star City Games of the world to have the pro circuit and maintain those secondary markets, it definitely behooves them to do that, whereas Wizards of the Coast can focus more on their end of things, which, you know, it is a little bit weird that the World Champion isn't on the homepage of Wizards, but it was on the homepage of Channel Fireball, which, if you look at it in that light, makes perfect sense. So there are so many things about this blog post and this article that, I mean, we could spend the whole episode just talking about this blog post, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, because this to me really reframes a lot of what even I have been advocating for in terms of, like, you know, invest in the pros and invest in the people and figure out, you know, how to build these brands and whatnot. And I don't think you can read this article and take away that pros are the best thing for Magic, and that's kind of weird in many ways in terms of just a paradigm that we're not used to. And something that a friend of the show and awesome Magic player Efro, who happens to be in the chat, noted was, man, do we wish we could record this after tomorrow's announcement. Tomorrow's announcement at the Game Awards, that's another segment we had coming later, but tomorrow they've announced the announcement, and the announcement of the announcement is that tomorrow at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard, they're going to announce what they're doing with esports / organized play / whatever. which my guess is just throwing a bunch of money in Arena and making Arena the focus. Whatever.
If they're announcing it during the Game Awards, which are going to be live on CBS, I think.
Okay.
Then that's a big thing.
I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be big, supposed to be huge. Wizards or Hasbro, indeed. Even Hasbro has been mentioning this on CNBC. So, like, it's going to be a significant amount of money put into this, and we'll see how it sort of works out from there. But that said, fascinating article. Definitely check it out. Give you some perspective and some idea as to why. I honestly think there's an old guard at Wizards who is keeping the Pro Tour alive and just won't let them kill it. They'll let them take away benefits. They'll let them modify the way things work, but they won't let them just kill it. And maybe they'll do a hybrid. I guess we'll see. Moving on here to Gather the Townsfolk. The promos for next year's 2019 events have been revealed, including a textless lightning bolt. Hello. I'm going to bring it up here on the screen so you guys can see it. But basically, next year's promos for the Grand Prix are going to be both foil and non-foil lightning bolts, which is pretty awesome. You'll get a foil lightning bolt if you play in the main event. You'll get a foil lightning bolt if you play, or if you buy the Fanatic package, I believe as they call it. And you'll get non-foil versions if you play in side events. And you'll also get, so I have that on the screen now. This thing is absolutely amazing. Yeah, the people who are crapping on this art, I think, are just sort of being contrarian at this point. I think this is fantastic.
I love that art.
Yeah, it's super good. But you also have 5 basic land, promo basic lands are going to be foil that you also get for playing on those side events. So you basically kind of double up, is what it feels like. And you can also get they're splitting the awesome lightning bolt into 2 mats. The first being the top half for the first half of the year. We'll get the, well, top half of the card, essentially. And then I guess you will get the bottom half for the rest of it. So that's a way to take art weird. And continue to use all parts of the buffalo.
Yeah, sure.
Just fine. But
a little strange. I mean, I'd be interested to see how it pans out.
Yeah, the bolts, for what it's worth, like, voted the #1 Magic card of all time. Like, I don't think they literally could have chosen a better card in this regard as a promo, as a card that literally never loses value. Whenever they print Lightning Bolt, not all the time, but every print Lightning Bolt, it does not matter how many packs are open. That card's going to be worth $1, and in a couple of years it's going to be worth $2, and in a couple of years it's going to be worth $3, because Lightning Bolt just never gets old, no matter what happens. So, this is really
there are a few other cards they could probably do this to and have the same value remain the same. Things like probably Brainstorm, maybe Source Plowshares or Path. Land War Elves, I guess, something along those lines.
But Bolt, man,
Bolt always stay. I mean, it won the Magic bracket for a reason.
Kudos to CFB for trying to do something a little bit different, which is they sent out little pieces of the artwork to different creators to have them spoil them during like streams and stuff, and so people could try to chop them together. And of course, a random event schedule ruined it for everybody and mentioned, oh hey, Texas Lightning Bolt for entering, and it's like, oh, awkward. So that's how it essentially got spoiled. But there was a video from Wedge where he talks all about sort of how you get them and how he's going to be at I think he's going to be at a MagicFest this kind of weekend, or are they still calling them Grand Prix for the rest of the year? I don't know.
Rest of this year, yeah.
Okay, they can still be Grand Prix then. Speaking of Grand Prix, last week I kind of went on a rant, essentially, saying like, CFB events, I think, could get the crap together and treat the artists better, just better. Yeah. Because today, Daarken actually posted an article on his website, on Daarken.com, where he more or less goes through his experience as being an artist from 2007 up until today. And there's a lot of ways it kind of got worse, and we've talked about some of those before. But I think what we've essentially come down to is that the artists are not getting the respect that they used to, and that all the respect and all the revere that they had at one time is not there amongst certainly CFB events, because this shotgun cattle call, we'll call you, don't call us type thing, and we'll cut you out of the event if we want to because somebody else who has a bigger star is coming. Like, that's just the wrong way to do it. It just, more honestly, this article just kind of made me upset all over again about how I know how I treated artists when I was the host at the Grand Prix, and then I read about how they're being treated at other events, and I'm just like, this is messed up. I don't understand why you're doing this.
Yeah, if I had to sum up Daarken's post in one word, it would be impersonal. You know, he kind of talks about how when he was first starting out, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Daarken was being invited. They were saying, we want you, Daarken, to come to our event. And now it's come down to, we want artists, and you happen to be an artist, so you can come. And then so, you know, they had like a representative who would come and watch their table while they took a break or while they went to the bathroom. They would have dinner with the TO and the other artists. And he recalls overhearing one TO in particular say, why would I want to have dinner with artists? You know, when it's a networking opportunity for all parties. And he talks about sort of the variance of it all, that if you happen to be an artist who is very fortunate to have had pieces and cards that are good, you know, like Life from the Loam and Force of Will and Fulminator Mage, that, you know, you are going to have a much better career and a much better time at the events than somebody who maybe has only been assigned 7 uncommons that nobody plays. And so, kind of like I mentioned last week, you know, there are people who we really haven't seen spoke up about this, probably because they've been very fortunate to have cards and that sort of insurance there where they're just going to have a good career no matter what. And, you know, the takeaway from this is it's just become very impersonal. And he's very clear to say, I don't want to be treated like a celebrity. I just want to be treated like a person. And they're not even, it sounds like they're not even getting that right now.
It's just, honestly, it's just really sad. You know, he says at this point, I've been to some events where I made $20. Like,
yeah, you know, there were some events where he was told, specifically in international markets, that he was told if he goes, he has to agree to do that sort of free painting that they'll do like a class or whatever. He's like, I could be doing commissions in that time. I could be doing whatever. And that's a deal breaker. If he doesn't agree to do it, he doesn't get to go. And he said that some TOs had told him that he needs to like charge people to be in his line, or they wanted a cut of his prints. And it just keeps adding up.
I mean, for me, these two sentences, instead of a TO personally asking you to attend, you now have to ask the TO if you can attend. We are no longer guests. That's not how you treat a guest. That's how that's a transactional relationship. And that's the TO treating these guys as just straight businessmen. When they're painters, they like to make stuff. They're not there to have...
Compare that to this MagicFest switch. That is so anachronistic. It's so backwards.
It's literally backwards.
Where you go from, we're turning the Grand Prix from a competitive event into a festival, where the thing that you're coming for the experience, you're coming to see the sights and play some Magic, but maybe not necessarily enter the main event. And one of the big draws for that are the people that paint the game. And then this is all going on while we have this artist's controversy. It's so backwards to me.
Yeah.
It's just sort of taking advantage of more or less what you got. Because he mentions at one point, you know, there used to be 1 to 2 artists at events, and now there's like 30. Right. And this shotgun approach, it becomes incredibly impersonal and somewhat disrespectful, but at the same time, it also sort of floods the market. You know, for me, when I would reach out to an artist, it's because, you know, hey, I'm calling you into the big show because I want you to, you know, be able to not only capitalize on the big show, but also me capitalize on you coming to that show. And instead of just like, let's just get whatever rattle off names we have X tables, we have Y names, copy paste from a spreadsheet because they're all filling out Google forms. It's very
floods the market, and it floods the market, and it leads to treating people like they're disposable, where it's like, well, these are the terms, and if you don't like it, here's these 5 other artists who are willing to work for breadcrumbs, and they'll take your place. And it's just not a way to do business.
Right. I mean, sometimes artist visibility became an afterthought. Sometimes they're placed outside of the event hall where nobody knows where they are, or they're placed behind a huge pillar. It's, you know, and this is real life. He's not just making this up as like ways I could be treated.
There's a reason why you see the same 4 or 5 artists at GPs. Why? Like,
you know, and they got to make a whole living out of that, and they got to grind that out, and that's tough, man. That's super tough. But either way, it kind of kicked it all up again. I tweeted at CFB events. You don't have to watch my podcast show thing. I could tell you in 6 points about getting maps and putting down where people are. This is very straightforward. This is not a difficult problem to solve, but it is one that's going to take work. It's going to take time, which is going to take money. So you got to prioritize that. That's all you're going to do. because there's some people who are just like, they don't have to fix it, and they don't. They can just ignore these artists because they have people who are willing to do what the system they have set up. But I feel the system they have set up is bad, and I'm not going to say, I'm not going to be quiet when I feel like something clearly is going wrong. Okay, Magic Arena. They're going to have a new ranking system. I've already went through like 3 or something, and I've already had my rank wiped a couple times, maybe 3 times. I don't know. But the ranking system is weird, and they're going to make a new one. And supposedly, somewhat, clandestinely hinted at, it's got to do with tomorrow's big esports announcement, which I'm sure is related in some way. Essentially, there's going to be a new ranking system that featuring season rewards, each season being a month long, so that's kind of cool, and balanced advancement. Well, the system is going to apply to limited and constructed events, but also note only one game events. So if you're playing the constructed events or whatever, which is best of 3, it's going to be a totally different ranking, which they say is like based on elo and some deck makeup stuff. But if you're doing the best of 1, well, then you're getting the official rank that gets the official title and the thing that gives you the rewards and all this other stuff. And I can imagine is going to lead you down the esports trail of bigger and better. Which this occurred to me, and this is kind of crazy, but I want you to think about this, okay? Why do we have sideboards? Why don't we just play 1-game matches all the time?
Like me.
Like, now clearly in older formats, obviously this is the way that sort of the game is developed, but in terms of like standard, and you even see this a little bit with the comments that Wizards puts in R&D on the cards of like, in a best of 1 scenario, let's make this card do X and Y because it's better that way. Goblin Crater Maker is a great example to say it does really weird things because it's in a best of 1 format. So you want the cards to do as much as possible with as few cards as you can. So because you're never going to be able to sideboard. You're not going to be able to bring them out and bring them back in. So I was just like, what if they just got rid of sideboards in standard? Like, I'm just asking. It's just one of those things like
that's what they're doing on Arena, right?
Yeah.
Like the only games that will be, or the only way to ladder is going to be best of 1. So that's the only way to get ranked. Now there's going to be unranked, both best of 1 and best of 3.
Yep.
That are going to have their own separate ranking system.
Right. One's going to be based on deck strength, and the other is going to be based on rank.
Which is weird. That I don't know how I feel about that. What does deck strength mean?
Basically, you're not going to, and right now this is kind of the joke in Magic Arena, is that if you play the constructed queue and you get up to silver tier, it's literally mono Jeskai mirrors. If you're playing Jeskai, you better be ready for the mirror because it's just mono Jeskai mirrors. It's bad. So they're like, we know about the Jeskai mirror thing and we're sorry, so this is going to be partially solving that problem. At least
is Jeskai the best deck from a stats perspective?
It's the one the control players are playing.
Jeskai players before.
That's
first
fair.
of all, that's true. But
I mean, I understand. I mean, I love Kevin Jones as much as the next guy, but he's going to play Jeskai regardless of how powerful it is in a format. But right now, the stats say that Shock and I don't know, Sinister Strike are the 2 most powerful things. Why isn't Golgari ranked higher? Things like can they tweak those numbers is my point. Can you say, well, Wild Growth Walker is winning more events, and so that is a more competitive deck this week?
Who knows? I mean, obviously they get a absolute crap ton of data from all of these games being played, and they can manipulate it however they see fit. Something else that was kind of hinted on, and this was just on Twitter, about how the drafting bots are always being kind of tinkered with, because there were definite times when I could tell, for example, like in Guilds of Ravnica, they said it's often correct to force Izzet because Izzet is usually open from the bots. And what I found was actually Boros was more often than not open from the bots. Like the bots just wouldn't pick Boros cards. I'd get 7th pick Sky Knight Legionnaires and stuff.
Right.
I'm like, what are you doing? Stuff like that. Either way, they're still making tweaks there, and it's still funny because you're seeing this pattern erupt of pro who's never played Magic Arena asks questions about it, and then someone says, "Oh my God, it's amazing," and then they go, "Well, what about X and Y and Z and whatever?" And you're like, it doesn't matter. You're like, well, you know, but we're drafting against bots. That can't be fun. It's like, no, it's really fun because you can draft in minutes. Literally, you can do a draft in 5 minutes.
I want to connect this back real quick to hashtag Dat Hearthstone Money, because as someone who laddered Hearthstone competitively for a while and was playing in Hearthstone tournaments, and I know how the ladder works. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these are going to be best of one matches, and the ladder resets at the end of each month, right?
Yep.
That's the Hearthstone ladder. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is we're going to get a lot of these aggro tempo decks, and then we're going to have hard counters to the aggro tempo decks that are just like 8 main deck Wraths, right? So you know, you're going to have Zoo style, you know, you're going to have Warlock Zoo, and then you're going to have Control Paladin, right? You're going to have your mono blue tempos, and then you're going to have your 8 Deafening Clarion Wrath decks, is what it sounds like it's going to be. Because without the best of 3, decks like Golgari get significantly worse. A big selling point for Golgari is that you shore up every match after sideboard. So, going to be a lot different.
I mean, if they were to come out and, I mean, can you just imagine? Can you imagine what the pros would say if Wizards said all pro tours are on Magic Arena? You're doing best of one matches, you know, deal with it, or best of 5. I don't know how they would do the top 8, but like, you know, some manner of you're just playing.
It's going to be a different game for sure. It's going to feel different. It's going to be people are going to poo-poo it. People are going to say, "Oh, what are you doing?" And then they're still going to play it because it's Magic.
But they've been but they've been saying that for the 10 years they've been cutting away at the Pro Tour and cutting at pros and pro benefits, and even myself, you know, the whole time just like, why are we doing this? But when you look at how the players are responding, it just is what it is.
Yep.
Move on here to GP Shizuka, I believe.
There you go.
Yes, Shizuka.
Yeah, you did that one okay. Good job.
For some reason I really do well with Japanese words. But they're doing this thing called the Guild Mission, which is interesting. It's a new event.
Cool.
I'm sorry, what?
I said that was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. The Guild Mission, they want you to sort of go do certain things with certain hashtags, you know, for the hashtag Dimir and hashtag Golgari and whatnot. For example, let's see here. Take a picture of yourself with the Planeswalker arts in the venue and post to Twitter. And that's one of the things that you can do to kind of give yourself a point or whatever towards the guild. And then I believe there's some amount of rewards. If you clear 8 requests in a day, you get a t-shirt. And clear all 10 quests in a day, and you get to be in a lottery for a Guilds of Ravnica booster box.
I think there might have also been a clause where you had to recreate art. Like I noticed I was going through the hashtag and there were people holding up cards and then imitating a pose or recreating a setting. So I think that might have been one of the other conditions as well that you could fulfill to complete the mission. But this was really, really sweet. You know, we've talked before about just sort of the innovation that we see at Japanese GPs when it comes to even just how they're run. You know, that one that Saito ran with like the fruit and the free admission for students in the tatami room. And, you know, Japanese GPs in general just blow ours away.
They're really sweet. That's basically what's happening there. Is they're super cool. And they come up with, these are the types of ideas that you're seeing from Big Magic, who are still apparently running events in the region, at least so far, that you're not seeing from CFB events. And I'm not trying to crap on them too hard. I know it's not easy. But these are the type of things and the type of gimmicks and promotional ideas that you need to keep people interested in events. Because this whole like cookie cutter your Grand Prix, cookie cutter your MagicFest is not working. They're over here sitting telling us like, you know, attendance has been down. They're trying to make money this coming year versus losing it the past year. You know, you're going to need some new ideas in order to help make that thing go. And Guild Missions is a great way to kind of show that.
Aaron, if you could not choose Golgari, who would your guild mission be?
So does it have to be from Guilds of Ravnica?
Yeah, it's got to be from one of the 5, one of the 4 that isn't Golgari.
Oh gosh, probably Dimir. I'd probably be Dimir as the second. But normally my second pick is Orzhov, but if Orzhov's not in this set, then probably Dimir.
Cool.
Very nice.
Just asking.
Well, from GP Shizuka, there was some cosplay for Atraxa that was just absolutely amazing. I got it on the screen right now if you're watching. And, you know, this is just one of those, like, it was so good. Clearly, so much time and effort was put into it. And it's always nice to showcase when people do that stuff.
This is Olivia Gilbert-Hicks, who you might know from the game nights. She made an appearance as Etrata when Etrata got spoiled from Guilds of Ravnica. And I have to say, and one good thing that came out of Magic 8, if such could be said, was that we have been exposed to so many amazing cosplayers. You know, Sprinkle was omnipresent, and rightfully so. She's insanely talented, full stop. But when it comes to women specifically, the community has a really bad habit of tunneling, of really only seeing one or two people. You'll remember if there was ever a conversation about competitive Magic, people were like, well, it's just Jackie and Melissa, there's nobody else. And meanwhile, there's this whole crop of women that nobody's talking about. And so Sprinkle's absence really opened the door for Nissa cosplay and that insane Shalai with the wings, and Tappy Toeclaws and Aaron Adams and Olivia Gilbert-Hicks and Tarmocat and just all of these people who have really come out of the gate so strong and just raised the bar for Magic cosplay. And it's just such a treat seeing what they come up with next.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the cosplayers are waiting to see what happens with the artist boycott. Because whatever happens there, they're going to be right behind them going, hey, we add value to your event.
Yep.
You don't have to shotgun us. You could come and talk to us and, you know, figure out who you want to get out here and do special things. Like, you know, when GP Charlotte did the SCG did the Noble Hierarch event, you know, we got, I'm pretty sure wasn't it Sprinkle who did the Noble Hierarch cosplay?
I believe so. She's done so many.
Yeah, I believe it was. It's essentially back then. But either way, we got a cosplayer to dress up as Noble Hierarch. We, you know, contacted and said, here, and we'll provide you with this amount of compensation to do so, because you're coming and you're going to do the effort and it takes work and all this other stuff. So anyway, just to let you know, cosplayers, they're right in line. They're just watching and waiting.
And they're never resting on their laurels. You know, just when you think you've seen, you know, just when you think that it's as good as it's going to get, they are so just self-aware, and they want to be better. Like even Olivia, you know, I had the pleasure of hanging out with Olivia when she was here for GP Milwaukee, and she's not stopping after Atraxa. Like she's looking at that Atraxa, and even when she posted the picture, she's like, there are already things I want to work on. And so not only are they amazing cosplayers, but they're not settling. It'd be very easy for them to be like, I did this thing, and it's like, I'm just going to let it happen for a while. No, they're going right back in there, and how can it be better? What kind of crazy thing can I do next? And it's such a treat to watch. Awesome.
Well, moving on here. This is just like straight, legitimately just dope. I can't. I gotta hand it to him. SCG announced there is a limited edition version of IDW Publishing's Magic the Gathering Chandra #1 featuring an alternate art cover by artist Victor Adame, and exclusively at December 7th through 9th SCG Con. That would be this weekend. This is sweet. Cool. I literally have nothing else to say other than I think this is great. Whoever was in charge of this one did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This was way more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Like an actual alternate art cover from a Magic artist. It's available at the event. It's crossing over into the comics realm, which is great. Right. Like
available at the prize wall as well, which, you know, the prize wall of all events have sort of been the topic of consternation for a long time, be it at GPs or at SCGs or any sort of event. Having an exclusive alt cover, exclusive to your event, available for purchase and for trade at the prize wall, just a spectacularly good idea. I think that this is the same comic, and it has like multiple different arts as the covers, depending on where you get it from.
Oh, I mean, that's just the comic like landscape these days. There's a million custom comics, a bunch of things where you have to buy like 100 issues, 100 of the same issue to get like one of the alternate art cover, and so that alternate art's worth like $100 or whatever. That's just what comics is these days. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's a really good confluence of interests as well. I mean, again, being able to feature an artist in a new and unique way. I don't know if Victor Adame is going to be there off the top of my head, but it's another way to bring in the artists and feature them specifically. And I think it's just a really good job.
Yeah.
Dear CFB event, this idea was fantastic. You should steal the hell out of it. Hugs and kisses. Me.
I mean, The comics industry and the Magic industry cross over in a number of different ways. A lot of people who collect comics collect Magic cards. A lot of artists who do comic art also do Magic cards. I mean, it's just a easy breezy way to cross over those two environments in a very succinct way.
So sometimes, you know, you have to be shown how it's done, and this is how it's done. So MagicFest, get on that. Do that. Get your own custom artwork cover. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Funny thing. Big announcement tomorrow. Big esports announcement. Hasbro CEO going on CNBC talking about how we're going into esports and all the money's coming, blah, blah. There is a director of esports job open at Wizards of the Coast right now.
Ooh.
Are you an experienced and passionate esports professional?
Let me read this job description and see if I should apply. Keep talking, Evan.
There you go. Well, look, they're looking for a director of esports as part of the esports team leadership group. There's an esports team leadership group at Wizards. You know that?
I didn't know that. No.
You're going to lead a team of esports professionals, again, implying they already have other esports people, including the tabletop competitive gaming team, event management team, video and content production. So they're kind of going to be trying to straddle, it looks like, but mainly focusing on MTG Arena, which is cool. And yeah, basically, if you wanted to create and manage what they're going to do for esports, whatever they currently are doing, and how you change it in the future.
All right, let's see here. 10 years experience in games, entertainment, sports, or related industry, including noteworthy roles, whatever that means, in an esports program management experience.
Yeah.
That's a lot of words in a row.
Yeah.
Leadership experience, proven experience managing live events.
Tournaments and live broadcasts. Very nice, very nice.
Experience working with game development teams at AAA publisher. What does that mean?
AAA publishers being like EA for games like Assassin's Creed, you know, for Black Ops, and Call of Duty stuff. Like,
so they want someone who has experience working for that type of company as well.
Right. Did you run the Counter-Strike esports at wherever, you know, then they care about it. So this was just,
I mean, this is a big job.
Oh yeah. This is sort of one of those bellwethers of like, you know, well, what's Wizards working on? Well, you can tell a lot of what they're working on by seeing what they're trying to hire, what type of jobs they're trying to fill.
Yeah.
And,
all right, chat. I might try to look. I've never applied for a job that I was qualified for in the first place. Because if you're applying, here's just my general rule. If you qualify for all of the qualifications for a job, they're not going to pay you enough to work there. And you
they also say you miss all the shots you don't take.
That's true. And you also have nothing to learn from a job that you already have all the qualifications for.
There you go.
So, you know, go ahead and apply for this, even if you don't have it all.
Fair enough. So, and you know, again, I hope it's very successful. Let's, you know, what's good for Magic, good for everybody. So let's move on here to Desperate Ravings. Oh boy, did we get a clickbaity title for this one. MTG Arena is killing Magic Online.
So dramatic.
Florian Koch. I can't. Koch, thank you.
Like the Koch brothers.
There you go. Florian Koch wrote an article about Magic Arena and affecting Magic Online. We're having like a bit war right now for those listening to the podcast. Sorry. I mean, you gotta get more than 1,000 bits to get up there, so they earned it.
Yeah, GG.
Either way, he writes essentially about the amount of money that a playset of every Magic card on Magic Online is worth, and how you can chart that and see how that number has been going down. That the collections are essentially worth less than they were before, and he ties it to a lot of different things that happen, whether it's version 3 coming out and there was problems, whether there was the whole Kiblergate thing when he got screwed over at one point in time on Magic Online, Modern Masters coming out and stuff, and essentially saying that, you know, because these numbers are going down, Magic Arena is somehow hurting Magic Online. And what I thought his most interesting point was, I'm sorry, what?
Being killed, in his words.
Oh yeah, to death. You know, what I thought was most interesting was he said, it's not the short-term problem, it's the long-term problem. If Arena is going to take all the standard players, and I'm pretty sure anyone who likes drafting has been drafting on Magic Arena more than likely than Magic Online, and over time, so many fewer cards are going to be put into the ecosystem of Magic Online that by the time next year's fall set rotates into Modern, there will start to be a real squeeze on what what used to be the old standard cards, because there aren't enough of them, which makes the price go up, and so on and so forth. I don't think that argument's going to hold a ton of water when you have treasure chests. And treasure chests exist, and there was even an example that was given by Goatbots, who wrote a response in the Reddit thread, and we're just like, yo dog, we do this as a business, and we don't think this is really trying to accomplish what CFB is trying to publish in this article. It uses the quote price of a complete playset as a tool to question the health of Magic Online, and that's not necessarily the metric that you need to use to show that Magic Online is okay. A better way to measure the health of MTGO would be to take a look at the ticket market price, which has plummeted at bad times, well below 90 cents per ticket. Currently, the opposite is true. It's high at 96 cents per ticket and has been very stable over the past months. This price hasn't been this stable for years, and we're not seeing a significant increase in collection offers at all. So, a lot of talk about why this article was A, titled this way, because it was, a little clickbaity. I wanted to get you to read it, okay. And B, if he kind of went off on a bad premise.
Yeah, we thought about this a little bit in the pre-show over whether or not, I think for him to have done an entire article about Magic Online and not included a take or an interview or sound bites from any of the vendors, whether it be our sponsor Card Order or Goatbots or anybody like that, that to me was a little disingenuous. And I'm sure that he plays a lot of Moto. I'm sure that he's a great grinder, fine. But, just because my Swamp Smash doesn't make me a Vorthos, you know what I mean? So for me to write a Vorthos article, I'm calling Mike Linneman, I'm calling Carrie Burkett, I'm calling Jay and Ellie. I'm staying in my lane essentially, or I'm making up for something I know I don't know. And so for him to sort of, I think Goatbots kind of hit the nail on the head of for him to make these declarations when he doesn't even know. Like, he doesn't work behind the scenes. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but it's something that you think but you really have no idea. And I was just really surprised that he was able to make such a broad, sweeping, dire statement like that and not even have a single bot person kind of agree with that or add to that in some way.
Well, what I can tell from it is that it seems to be very, from a player's perspective, quote unquote, from the person who's playing Magic Online, and this is the metric that I looked at, and here's my experiences over the years playing Magic Online and how this could possibly be impacted by it, so on and so forth. I can imagine that one of the things he'll take away from this is that he probably should talk to people who do this for a living and whose lives and livelihoods depend on Magic Online existing. But this was certainly an interesting way to look at the idea of using this metric to measure it, but that correlation is not causation.
Yeah.
So, more or less. Thank you, Magic Online. It's only taken 16, 17 years.
Can I just bring it back for 1 minute? Can we talk about Magic Online's response to this article when they posted a copy of the rumors of my death? And I was like, yes! I was like, that was so good. And yes. The fact that people didn't know if it was in regards to the article or the downtime, that is a masterclass in shade right there. When you don't know the intent, you don't know the timing, it was just perfect. Whoever did that, give them a cookie. That was
very
amazing.
Nice. That was A+ social media action right there. That's awesome. But if there's one thing that you may learn or know as you've used Magic Online over the years, is every once in a while someone hates your guts, and they hate your deck, and they hate you, and they hate everything, and they want to call you any name, and they want to make sure they put all the spaces between the letters so they can make sure that you see what they're calling you.
I saw a screenshot the other day where this guy, I think it was a Brazilian pro player or a Portuguese pro, his opponent was like, "I'm going to eat your sister." Like, what? Like, the guy just lost his mind. It was like, "I'm going to eat your family members." Like, what?
Man, there's an angle.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane.
Oh my God. Well, look, with Wednesday's deployment, they have added a new feature to Magic Online, the ability to hide game chat while leaving your game log visible. Yay. In fact, chat will be hidden by default. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a block list as much as the next girl. I mean, it seems like, it's really kind of come to this. You see more often than not, most of the stories you see are not positive interactions. Most people kind of going back to Hearthstone have realized that there's just nothing that really needs to be said. You're seeing everything from the log. Why do we need to know that I meant to do something else? Well, that's great, but it didn't happen. And so there's just very few things that need to be said, really. And, it's a little sad in a way because it is Magic the Gathering. But when you really get right down to it, there's just nothing that really needs to be said in that format anyways.
I mean, it's one of the sort of the weird almost sins that Magic Online made a long, long time ago. And I think we're seeing one of them certainly in the limelight, which is they tied MSRP, the MSRP of a booster pack, to the MSRP of a Magic Online pack. And that's been a problem. And default having chat there and active is something that a lot of games have just moved past. If you don't need voice chat, for example, you're not going to have it included. And if you don't necessarily need to talk to your opponent in anything beyond emotes, per Hearthstone and Magic Arena, you probably don't need it, and it's probably not going to be a good thing because let's just say that wholesome stuff is not the screenshots that are coming out of Magic Online.
Yeah, not the purview of Magic Online screenshots for sure.
No, so you can cancel them forever. By default, they're hidden, and that is terrific. All right, so let's move on here to an interesting image showed up. I thought this was cool.
Yes.
Good gosh. Thank you, Travis M79 2750.
Well, that and I'm just so hyped for what you're about to talk about.
Well,
which
I'm also, yeah, between that and the hype. There was an image on a table tent, and I will bring it up here on the screen.
That one? You're going to lead with that one?
Well, what? Which one am I?
You lead with the good one.
We're getting there. We're getting there. First is we're going to show this table tent with a really cool Domri raid. Yeah. Or Domri Rade or whatever it's supposed to be. He looks great. Like super cool. Back
Where
to like a
legs?
weird boar.
Am I the only one that can't see his legs in that picture?
Sure, they're there somewhere.
It looked like some weird amorphous boar. I didn't...
But like the arms are up and they're crossed and it looks sweet.
Did you also see the weird Nissa looking thing with the butch haircut? There was a table tent where people were like, it's Nissa, and it's like Nissa would never cut her hair like that. Like, how dare you?
No, this is Tommy Rod. The whole point is
there was another one of like a weird looking elf that people thought was Nissa, and they were like, no way.
Oh, I see. Well, that one I don't have a link for, unfortunately, but if someone does, feel free to pop in the chat. But either way, there was another one, and I'll bring it on here for the screen now. There is a Kaya playmat. Wow, and Kaya is clearly part of the Orzhov, and Orzhov are clearly on the Bolas side, as you would probably expect them to be. This is a RPTQ top 16 mat.
So good. Not the first time we've received plot spoilers thanks to these playmats, but Kaya is clearly in charge of the Orzhov. A lot of questions. Did she kill the Ghost Council? Because that's kind of what she does. Where's Teysa? There's so many questions. And why is Kaya working with Bolas? Is this just a mercenary situation? This was just delicious. And I know so many people who are just so hype about this. And just Kaya's one of those characters that they put so much time in to get right. And they did a really good job of it. It seems like the community really liked the character and we're very eager for her to come back. And this is just perfect. This is just such an organic way to bring her back. And I cannot wait to see where this goes.
It's interesting how they're bringing, like, Dovin Bond is going to be in charge of the Azorius, and now Kaya is clearly rocking Orzhov, which is neat.
Oh my god!
Like, and in the chat they were speculating that is Rakdos going to be part of like the good
That's
guys?
what I'm excited about. Good guy Rakdos.
Well,
Red has had it bad for far too long.
Well, I mean, you mean Dimir are sort of now the good guys. If they're the ones that sort of were the first ones to figure out this plan, and so it would be kind of a nice reversal of fortune if the Dimir and the Rakdos were the heroes. What
would really be a nice surprise is if the Rakdos wouldn't suck. Could the Rakdos please not suck? They haven't not sucked since the original Ravnica. There for like a hot minute when I got Dark Confidant and stuff, with my Genju, the Spires and whatnot. But it's been a hot minute. That said, super exciting, awesome artwork. Very nice. All right, so let's go Infinite here for a moment. I thought this was great. It's just a tiny little thing. It's nothing huge. One of our last segments for the evening. Let's see. Lewis Kaplan, who is a MTG grinder at Lewis Kaplan 86.
That's my friend.
Oh, nice. Well, he mentioned, he said, hey, there's 61 modern legal sets. I'd love to see a casual casual modern singleton format where you can't play more than one card from each set. Now, this to me is exactly what Magic Online needs to be doing. This weird, silly, you can only do it on Magic Online type format that is really creative, probably really interesting and fun. I can only imagine like the myriad of decks that you would be playing in this type of format. That's just brilliant. And you could have this be a Commander-esque thing if you wanted to, because again, that's already coded into Magic Online. You can use that stuff. So these are the types of things I would like to go, hey, Magic Online, this is a great idea. This is fun.
Yeah, I would be interested. I mean, this seems like a lot of work to try to build a deck for.
Well, yeah, but you know,
but it does look super interesting, and it's like the only place that it can really be done is Magic Online, because certainly you're not going to do it at a live event where your judges are going to have to check for the legality of every individual set symbol. But yeah, it seems like a cool format. Now, the thing that's interesting to me is this is singleton where you can't play more than one card from each set, but can you play multiple versions?
I would say no. I would say, you know,
like, can I play an M11 and an M12 Sun Titan?
No.
Okay.
Singleton being only one of that copy of the card, no matter where it's printed, but only one card from each set. So in that regard, you may want something from both. You know, you want M11 Sun Titan and this M11 thing. Well, luckily it's in M12 or whatever, so you have it there as well. So that's neat.
I'm just curious.
It would probably be difficult to code, is my guess, you know, for the Wizard side of things, to make sure that your deck is legal in that regard. But again, this is the type of stuff when you have the entire catalog of Magic, you can really take advantage of it. And I thought this was a great idea. So let's go ahead and close entries into the giveaway. Ooh. Pick the winner. Little few minutes early, but I'll take it.
Few minutes early. Next week, we're going to have a longer show because of whatever tomorrow's announcement's going to be.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations to Big J525. You have won a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com.
Congratulations.
Thank you so very much for participating. We do appreciate it, which is awesome. Feel free to contact us, the moderators on subreddit. Is that still a thing?
They can reach out to us through Reddit. I know they've been DMing us sometimes. I gave a code out yesterday through Twitch, so if you want to send me a message through Twitch, we can work it out that way. But yeah, we'll certainly get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So before we turn any corners, we want to go ahead and give away our thanks for our subs.
So much thanks. And
so many bits. Holy cow.
We did have so many bits this week.
We had a bit storm this week, which is great. Chef DMMD subscribed. Thank you very much. Commander Central _Max subscribed. Thanks a lot. House of Shadow resubscribed for 7 months with F Tron was his message on that one. Let's see here. Chris
you
RD.
Play Mill, sir. Like, don't do this.
Chris RD resub for 4 months now, which is fantastic. Sharing this now, so I'm waiting for the something of the show because I'll probably be asleep before then. Oh, that's unfortunate.
You really will. It's a miracle he's up this late.
A Little Aloof resub for 8 months. Thank you so much. Sporgil has subscribed. Thanks a lot. MTG Effect gifted a tier 1 sub to Rafa Brands. Thank you very much there as well, which is great. Let's see here. And now it's time for Bit Wars.
Indeed. The Bit Wars this week. We'll start at the bottom and we'll go to the top. The Pilat gave us a bit. T.S. Saliok, Mr. Lubufu, J-Dubs 2008. Drunk Gaming gave us 100 bits. House of Shadow started things off with 666 bits.
Ooh.
And the top 4 gave us over 1,000 bits apiece. Sexy Stoy gave us 1,000 bits. Draco Lucian 1,500 bits. Sporgil 2,101 bits. And Travis M79, 5,900 bits.
What on earth?
Absolutely spectacular.
Thank you, Travis.
Thanks.
Wow. Thanks, everybody. We'll try not to spend them all.
Don't you feel bad now, Evan, for forgetting the cards and they're still giving us bits?
That's a new symbol. That blue hexagon is a symbol I haven't seen before.
That's the ballin'.
That face worth the Bit War.
So thank you so much.
are incredible.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You could be anywhere in the world, as Patrick Sullivan likes to say, but you were hanging out with us tonight, which we appreciate. Yeah. That means we are going to turn the corner to the finisher. It was announced this week that beginning on December 17th, the microblogging and social media website Tumblr will be banning all pornography on their website. And if you don't know what Tumblr is, well, apparently you have until December 17th to find out. Several popular Magic blogs are hosted on Tumblr, including the Magic Bracket, tons of artists and cosplayers, and of course Mark Rosewater's Blogatalk. So now that Tumblr will be working out the kinks, so to speak, what changes do you expect to come to Magic the Tumblring, Ruben?
Well, I know that they retired a number of years ago at this point, but the Tumblr porn ban certainly puts a nail in the coffin for my favorite comic about magic and about butts, Cardboard Crack.
Putting the crack in Cardboard Crack. Aaron?
Well, thankfully, Magic grinders don't depend on Tumblr too much these days, because I'm not sure how long for this world the combination of Brad Bonin and Adam Yurchik's tournament reports could be found at boninYurchik.tumblr.com.
I want to be mad, but I can't. I can't.
But you ain't even?
I ain't even. It's so good. Well, look, I'm looking forward to the newest Mark Rosewater offering. You want to actually run this one, Ruben? You want to can you give this one?
Sure. It's time for the Drive to Safe for Work podcast.
Assuming, of course, the post doesn't get flagged for pulling out of his driveway. All right, that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody in the chat. You guys were lit tonight.
You guys were super great. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. And I've been reminded to advertise myself. Everyone should show up on Saturday for the Broken Pact at 1 p.m. Pacific. Come watch me talk about Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering.
Absolutely. That'd be sweet. All right, let's move on here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people we exist, except on Tumblr. Don't do that. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, our Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.